welcome to the Dynamics 365 Practice Show. We're joined by two guests today to hear about their experience in taking products to market on AppSource, their journey from ideation, design and creation, and their advice to ISVs out there wanting to enter the space. Now, this is an unusual model for me to run. Normally I just have a single guest at a time, but I hope you enjoy this slightly different type of format. But first off, I'd like to talk to you about an ISV I've been working with called MapTasker. They're out of Western Australia. It was where they originate. Great guys. I've just spent a week with them recently. And I like the innovative way their solutions combines location intelligence and geospatial data and artificial intelligence to unlock the insights that satellite, aerial, and drone data can bring to a business. One of the main problems businesses experience when using drones is where to store the huge amounts of data they produce. MapTasker solves this problem by allowing businesses to upload their drone data directly into Azure and then associate it with their Dynamics 365 and Power Platform data. This approach makes it super easy for users to access their data and then include it in workflows. Check out MapTasker Field at maptasker.com and get your free trial today. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Anil Shah, Managing Partner at CloudFronts, and Fromm, President of Technical Sales Development, to explore how they created a partnership to produce an app that is deployed to AppSource and how they run their global businesses. Check out the full show notes for this episode at nz365guy.com/85. Now let's get on with the show. Well, Art and Anil, I'd love to welcome you to the Dynamics 365 show. How are you?
Very good. This is Anil.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to have you on here. So, Anil, first of all, let me just ask you a few background questions. Can you tell us about where you live, what part of the world you come from, and what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So I live with my wife and two daughters in the usually chaotic but really high energy commercial and entertainment capital of India, city of Mumbai. And as a side note, my 5-kilometer driving distance can take me sometimes 45 minutes.
Wow. That's a pretty intense commute. I take it's because the density of population?
That is correct. Density of population, you got a city that has about 20 million people and counting. So it's intense, but it's a new adventure every day.
Yeah, I bet. And Art, where do you hail from?
I live in Buffalo, New York. I was born and raised here, and we actually moved away from here twice, my wife and our kids, and we've moved back twice now, which is a little bit unusual. So the second time we moved away, we moved back because our kids were grown and we wanted to be back with our parents and family.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good. Well, I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you and how your kind of partnership came together. Anil, I think I'll start with you and just talk about your journey of building applications, getting them on AppSource, and what your company does and how it supports other companies around the world. So let's start with your journey into building your company, CloudFronts. How did you develop the company and where did it all begin?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So I'll go back a few years to 2010. Me, my wife, and our two kids, we are in New York. I'm the CRM practice lead for a New York-based partner. And we've always talked about moving back to India for two reasons: raising our kids closer to family, and then also starting my own practice. So we finally took the plunge in September 2010. My younger daughter was actually just 6 weeks old. And at that time, Microsoft was changing the messaging from on-premise to cloud. And I think this was around the time when CRM was just starting to work on browsers other than IE. We said, let's move, and we pack up and move. And next year, I really helped my cousins. They run a pharmaceutical business, set up my Dynamics CRM for their pharmaceutical business. And then in 2012, I incorporated CloudFronts to really focus on CRM deployments. The first person I hired was actually an HR manager. And she's now leading our HR team, part of management as well. But as a side note, everybody said, Anil, you don't have people, you don't have business, and the first person you're hiring is an HR manager.
Yeah, that
And
is
I said,
interesting.
I said, we are in the people business. I've never worked in India, although I'm from India, and we need to hire good folks to create good policies and take care of our people. So the first person we need is HR. And so we started off with that, and then slowly, through word of mouth and our marketing efforts, we've continued to grow. Today, I'm happy to say we are a gold partner across CRM, ERP, Azure, AppDev, Analytics, and ISV. Our predominant services are coming out of Mumbai, but we have 3 offices today, 3 businesses today in India, Singapore, and just from last month in New York.
Wow. Okay, so you're all over the world.
Yes, we are, and the traveling is exhausting.
Yeah, because I just met you, in person a couple of weeks ago up in Amsterdam, and so tell me, how do you go about picking up new business and clientele?
First things first, right? When I started the company, so the very first thing I do, I think the next week, right after I incorporated CloudFronts in India, was I pack up my bags, take my wife and kids back to the US. And it's a small vacation for them, but for me, it was really meeting up with all the people I knew. I've always worked in the Microsoft Partner Channel. So from my first boss to my last manager to attending some events and just getting the word out that, hey, I'm doing this now. And so we got to spend some time away together, got some vacation, and then met up with a lot of folks. And through that, we actually landed our first project, which was connecting Microsoft CRM with Dynamics GP. And then some amount of Microsoft CRM work. From that point on, we've continued to focus a lot on brand building, being very active on LinkedIn, social media, writing a lot of good blogs. And we are a very active part of the Dynamics community. As I'm doing the podcast right now, one of our team members is flying out to Dubai to speak at the 365 Saturday event. A couple of us presented in Amsterdam. That's where we met at the UG event, Mark. Some of our clients flew in with us. They presented along with us. So sort of a short answer is we have generated a lot of interest through all of these activities. And then finally, showcasing our customer success stories through on our website and on LinkedIn and other medias. And that customer success, okay, if my customers are successful, and they are, we end up driving a lot of growth from existing customers as well. If I look at my top customers today, each one of them, the top 5, for example, has more than one Microsoft technology. Our projects typically start with CRM or operations or NAV or BC, but then these customers end up doing any one of at least 3 or 4 things from CRM, ERP, Power BI, M365, and Azure. So,
Wow. So tell me how big are you staff wise? Is you predominantly all your staff in Mumbai or are you distributed?
So a good question. We are about 60 odd people today and growing. As we speak, we have like 15 or 20 open positions. And we have a couple of admin staff in US and in Singapore. We're starting to look for our first sort of salespeople in those markets. Because some of our I would say 2/3 of our business is in the US today. So that's how we are laid out. It's taken us about 5 years to get to this point. We focused predominantly on mid and upper mid market, where we find a deep demand for digital transformation, but the ability for customers to move fast and make decisions.
Interesting. So, I've worked in the partner channel for some time, 20 odd years that I've been in partner land, and then the last 16 specifically in Microsoft Business Applications. And one of the things that always strikes me with so many partners is one of their weakest points is their ability to market themselves as an organization. They often will grow to having kind of like about 70 odd clients. Often the owner of the business is still the main salesperson of the business. In a lot of these boutique type organizations, I'm not talking about the enterprise level of town. So how do you handle that marketing story and making sure that you're consistently picking up your next engagements, your next projects, that type of thing?
Good. So this is a great question. You mentioned that they get to about some number of clients, and then is the main salesperson picking up these, or the main owner or founder picking up these customers. I think we've reached that point some time back, and over the last year or two, we've tremendously focused on kind of moving from when we started the business, it was small business, and we've moved up to mid market and upper mid market. So the deal sizes are bigger, the projects are significantly more complex. Um, you know, on all of that, we still have maybe one or two salespeople, but predominant efforts are towards inbound marketing. And there's a ton of time and investment. There's a marketing team. There is a lot of all the other activities related to marketing, and that's where we are driving growth. And slowly, this is important because I want to tell this to a lot of other people out there. When you're growing a business, initially you're doing everything. So first day I set up my office, I'm sitting in a cabin, and from the coffee machine to finding, making sure the light is on, I had to do everything. And you have to learn how to step out. And the only way you can step out is developing leaders and finding leaders at every position that you can, and let them lead and get out of the way. So that is where we are today. We have a solid delivery team. We have HR, we have accounts, we have a marketing team, and I think our next phase of evolution is scaling out our sales teams.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so that what you've said there has raised some questions for me. So one, you deliberately use this phrase inbound marketing, which is something I'm totally passionate about and on board, and think it's important to execute on that type of activity. What does inbound marketing look for your organization? What kind of patterns are you putting in place to make sure that you're findable, and when people are searching for problems that you solve, they find you?
Sure. So let me give an example of a couple of good projects we closed in different markets in the last year or so. So we have a large customer all the way in San Jose, California. It's a large accounting business. We're deploying Dynamics 365 Sales, PSA, and a couple of other technologies for them. They found us through an ebook one of our project managers had written, and a couple of blogs on PSA and project management. There is a partner in Nigeria. It's one of the biggest partners in Nigeria. And last year they engaged with us to develop some custom visuals on Power BI. And that was like a 3-month project. And they found us because we had our dial gauge custom visual published on the Power BI AppSource. So this is just 2 examples. We have one of our largest customers in this tiny island country of Maldives, and they're using finance, operations, retail, sales, field service, Office 365. And they found us through word of mouth and then researching more about us online and going to our website. So we spend a ton of time writing good content, pushing it out there. If you look at the last 6 months on the Dynamics community or last 1 year, you'll usually find CloudFronts in the top 5 or top 10. We've got our people active at doing speaking engagement at events, and we keep a fairly up-to-date website with customer success stories, and then we push them out to LinkedIn.
Okay, that's brilliant. If I was to give you $1 million next week and said you had 3 months to spend it on marketing, how would you spend it?
$1 million on marketing. Good question.
Yeah, and it has to be spent all within 3 months, because I don't want you deliberating for a year on how to spend it.
I would take that marketing budget and focus deeply on a couple of industry verticals that we want to focus on, and target customers in the various geographies that we are strong in, like the US, Europe, and Southeast Asia, and put it up on LinkedIn, for example. Do ads, push out good content, travel a lot, meet a bunch of people, organize events, and I don't know if I'll be able to spend all of it, but I would expect that would drive us up market really fast.
Nice. Excellent. One other thing in having a global business like you do is what happens, I assume that most of or a large proportion of your dev resources are located in Mumbai. Would that be right?
That is correct.
Okay, so how do you handle a customer that goes, we need all the consultants to be working from on site? How do you handle that conversation?
So we have two models we work in. The first one is where we are doing these mid-sized projects. These are projects that are anywhere from 3 to 6 months on deal size, and those are handled today from India. And that actually was one of the things I realized before moving back to India, that by the end of 2010, I was hardly visiting customer sites. Starting in my career, like 2001, 2002, I was usually on site all the time, and that was just starting to disappear. And so that has helped us get into that, initially small customers and then now good sized mid customers. The other model we work on is collaborating with partners. We are engaged with some really good partners, predominantly in the US today, a little bit in Australia, but mainly in the US, where we work jointly, whether it's their project or whether we've got a customer they need on site. We'll be upfront with the customer about it. The customer, Mark, has evolved so much in the last few, I think, 10 years, last decade, that they've figured out that my teams are going to be global.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's so many other questions I want to drill into here, but it's going to derail us. Like, I'd love to know about, your project methodologies and particularly how you handled a dispersed team, how you kind of manage it efficiently. But I'm going to put that to one side. Tell me, how did you start going global? You obviously kind of started building the presence in the US market. How did you move down to Singapore and other markets like that? Was it a single deal that took you into those markets and then you kind of set up shop? How did you grow? How did you grow?
Yeah, so let's start with where it all started. So Anil Shah has worked all his life in the US. He's never had a job outside of that country. So he has all his contacts there. It's a high growth market for him. He knows things are moving to the cloud. So when he starts a company in India, he knows he's going to focus on the US first. So initially, it started off of there. And then slowly, as you pointed out, we've got this customer inquiries, and these are good, decent mid and upper mid market customers that came in from different markets, like Singapore, like other part like Maldives and other places, where there was no requirement for us to be on site, and if needed, we could go for a couple of weeks and come back, and that actually was our entry point into those markets, and then it kept building up. So.
Tell me about the importance of Microsoft events that you attend. How important are they? What are the key events that you kind of will always have in your annual calendar to attend?
Yeah. So we, over the last few years, when I started the business, the very first thing I did is I went to Extreme and a couple of other events to meet with people. But we usually attend BizApps, business apps events, which is new. Inspire, I'm always there. I'm already registered, and hotel and air booking, everything done. I look forward to the 20-hour flight from Mumbai to Las Vegas. User Group Summit. I've been presenting at User Group Summit for the last year or two. In the US, this year we did Amsterdam. We just submitted our sessions for Australia. I think this is the first year for UG Australia. We attend Extreme, on and off we've done. And now 365 Saturdays. So that's also growing well.
Okay. If you could only attend one a year, which event would it be?
Tough one. I think it's going to be Inspire.
Is that right?
Yeah. I find this...
Is it because it's a partner networking or what?
It is, up until now, this is our first year we'll attend BizApps, but Inspire has been that event where we found the sort of that energy across really everything that's happening with Microsoft, and it allows us to kind of create the whole story of where we are heading, and it's not restricted to, it's kind of the whole stack. And so, and that used to be the partner event before, and now it's Inspire. But I'm thinking it's our first year attending BizApps. Let's see.
Yeah, I was at BizApps last year, and it was a fantastic event, and I'm only looking forward to this one being bigger and better again. So it should be good.
And what I like about BizApps is it's a 2-day event.
Yeah. Do you really like that it's 2 days? I'd much rather that it was 3 to 4 when you got to travel halfway around the world to get to it.
I like that it's 2 days, but before and after, I can schedule all my customer meets. So it's I like 2 marathon days, then 3 days. It starts seeming long, and work doesn't stop. So
Okay, valuable. Let's pivot and talk a bit about the ISV space, because everything we've discussed so far is kind of your system integration part of your business, but you also operate as an independent software vendor. Is that right?
That is correct.
So tell us a bit about, was that a pivot into that space for you, or was that something that from day one you've always been focused on creating bespoke applications or applications on the Microsoft stack for a mass distribution?
So the first, I'll talk about what happened initially, how we got into this, and then where I'm thinking we're going. Our first ISV product, which is called PM app or project management app, is still listed on the AppSource. It came about really outside of our own need to have a project management solution when we started our business, to have a professional front of managing products, sending billing reports to our customers. So we kept building that, and a couple of years ago, we said, this looks like we are at V1 that can be put out in the market. And so that we put out, we got some customers on that. So that was one of our first products, and it came out of an internal sort of organic need. And we said, small and mid-sized professional services companies would love this product. So that was the first sort of product creation experience. On to that point, all the VARs around the globe now, if they're working on projects and if they're finding some niche, it's a great time to figure out how to get into product development in the ISV space. It's a different mindset, but if you get to that and get a V1 out, which is it's a difficult task, and then keep upgrading on it, I think there's been a lot of success stories. The big ones like Click Dimensions, and then along with that, we are based in Mumbai. We have a solid team, and so today on the call we have Art with us, and we've had helped partners like Art take their ideas and solutions to market by developing apps for them. And what we've done for Art is a sophisticated sales methodology platform on 365 sales. I think it's really the only first one. And I know your competing platform like Salesforce has a couple of these, and these companies are only selling that methodology and running their business. And so this is really the first one. And so all this has happened out of our client projects and paying attention to the fact that if there's an opportunity for product development, I want to get into that space.
Yeah, nice. So what challenges have you faced as an ISV, purely as an ISV?
For any VAR, the biggest challenge is a mindset change from services to product development. Getting to a viable solution, and then keeping on developing your solution. The second one really is scaling and finding your customer base. And how do you focus on doing your business and while you grow something else? So customer acquisition is still an ongoing journey. Figuring out that right product is still something that we're still doing. But I would say these are some of the core challenges. How do you scale? How do you have a good product? How do you continue to develop it fast so that you have a good solution that is usable and scalable?
So what about, do you have any challenges presently with, if you like, how Microsoft engages with ISVs, or what that ISV story is? It still very clear in your mind what's involved, or how you manage a relationship with Microsoft in that respect?
So it is, a lot has changed in the last few years, especially with the Power Platform coming up. It represents with it its own opportunities, but it just in terms of working with Microsoft ISVs and the AppSource, our experience so far has been very good. We've gone through well documented, streamlined processes, and then anything new that you do, you have a learning curve, and that you learn and then you can repeat.
Yeah, so true. So what about your experience then with AppSource? I take it you have a range of apps in there. How have you found that journey since AppSource came to market? And have you got any suggestions on how it could improve?
Yep. So I'll talk about from the first time to what else could be done, right? So the first time you list on the AppSource, be ready for some iterations to your solution, documentation, and so on and so forth. as you'll get communication back from the AppSource team. But secondly, that means you got to have some patience. There is a solid team on the other side at Microsoft. They want to make you successful. They want you to get your app listed as soon as possible, but they also have a backlog and tons of stuff that's happening there, and they need to follow a process. So we are ready. We want to get it on the AppSource, but have some patience. We're all on the same team, and there is good documentation out there. We found it's a 5-step process. Fill the app submission. If you're not registered as a partner, please do that. Create your managed solution, get the AppSource package ready, create an Azure account, and then upload your app through the Cloud Partner Portal. Other stuff in there, everything from your code validation and the feedback and the back and forth will happen. You can review everything that you're doing in kind of a sandbox review environment, and once everything is good to go, you'll be able to click Go Live. And then the changes are divided into 2 parts: marketing and solution changes. Solution are to the product, the marketing changes are to your documentation, etc. In terms of the evolution of the AppSource, one thing that happened, and Mark, we talked about it previously, is I think last year the release of Test Drive, and which me and Art have been talking. We're also looking to implement very soon for us. I think that makes it easier for your app to be tried and tested without having the customer go through a full trial and install and the frustration that comes out of that.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised at trials, just in my years of doing Dynamics 365 type trials, that when you say, there's your 30 days, go for it, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, they don't tend to, yet what I love about Test Drive, the data's loaded, the use cases are all loaded, the dashboards are all lit up, the right things are there, and it kind of gives you this very much, you're into the full-on experience. You don't have to kind of visualize in your mind or make up how stuff should be there. The field should be full of information. So I think Microsoft have done a really smart thing there in providing that Test Drive experience. But before we pivot to Art, who's your customer in this situation, you've done something quite unique here. You create an ISV solution for other companies. Is that right? How did you so these are not just ISV solutions for yourself that you're going to market with, you're actually selling them to, you're building them for other businesses. How did you come to kind of get into that kind of area of the ISV channel?
So, you are developing deep skill sets across, the Dynamics 365 stack, sales, field service, whatever. And you're doing all these projects globally. You're accumulating all this experience across various industries. So you understand the functional and technical aspects of the product. And really, we eat our own dog food. So we are using sales, customer service, PSA, Power BI, Office 365 with MDM. And so it makes us easy to understand when an ISV has something around any of these products that they say, you know what, we want to develop something on top of, let's say, sales or customer service. Because we have the functional chops, we have the technical chops. So we said, if this kind of work comes along, we should pick it up and help other partners succeed, where they might be looking for a offsite team. They might be looking for, they might not have a team and they don't want to invest in hiring a team at that point. They're still new. So we said there's a good niche for us, and because we developed our first product and put it up on the AppSource a few years ago, we know the whole process. So we figured out sort of the administration aspects also. So we said we should capitalize on it.
Nice. So switching over to Art, how did you come to find Anil and his business, and what was kind of your initial engagement? How did you come to work together?
Well, I initially had been trying to figure out the way to implement a solution on D365 on my own, along with another person who was just a developer that had worked on some other CRM systems. I had a client that for 11 years I had been working with and delivering one of the methodologies in my sales transformation portfolio called SOS, which we'll talk more about in a minute. And it was based on Excel spreadsheets, but I saw an opportunity to put it into D365 because in 2016, they went to D365. their sales management was looking at ways to get better visibility into the pipeline and also to do analytics on the sales opportunities, such as, which ones worked, which ones didn't work, et cetera. So I saw this as a perfect storm of taking this Excel-based tool that was used for the methodology and putting it in D365. But I had really no clue how to do it. And once myself and this other developer started to look at it, we realized this was way over our head because the tool's very graphically based. It was built in a lot of macros inside of Excel and very complicated. So right at that exact same time, another part of my portfolio is called Great Demo, which is a software demonstration methodology, the leading one actually. And I had been connected with a potential client in New York City who was interested in having me do the Great Demo training for them. And when I started to research this company, lo and behold, I find out they are a D365 implementer. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is perfect. Here I thought, they were going to be my customer. Maybe I'm going to be their customer. So I talked with them about this development that I was going to try to do. And they said, yeah, that's similar to what we do, but not exactly. However, we have a guy that used to work for us who exactly does that. His name is Anil Shah, and he has a company called CloudFronts. So I said, great, let me talk with them. I called Anil, and we hit it off right away. Knew exactly what to do, and we got started very quickly into it. So it's quite fortuitous the way that we happen to meet. And as we may get to later, now not only did Anil and his team help me develop this app, but he's also a customer now. So Anil uses this for his own sales methodology as well as he uses for his opportunity management.
Wow. So let me get this right. So you went to Anil and got him to build a specific application targeted on sales transformation that's designed to operate directly inside Dynamics 365 for sales. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. And do you publish it up to AppSource?
It is. It's currently on AppSource. I didn't necessarily start there. We started with it as a managed solution because it was purpose-built for this particular customer, this client that I had. And I wanted to see what that was like. And we had always talked about it being, on AppSource eventually. And then about a year later, which was mid last year, we did put it up on AppSource.
Wow. Okay. So tell me about what was the journey like working with, Anil and how did you kind of build the synergies to come to market with a product?
Since this was an established app that, standalone Excel app, there was a number of key things that we wanted to do with it. It had to be completely integrated inside D365, utilize the opportunity object and all the pieces therein. And since Anil and his team knew D365 inside and out, I just showed it to them. We worked together on it. I explained the types of things that it currently does because it's a proven app. I mean, this methodology with this particular client that I've been working with since 2006 found that by using this methodology, their win rate improved 16 points from 58% to 74%. So we didn't need to develop the methodology per se. What we needed to do was replicate it into D365 and have it look and feel the same way as it did in the Excel spreadsheet. And when I say Excel spreadsheet, again, I'm not talking about columns and rows. This is extremely graphical. It's got colors, it's got charts, it's got, drag and drop stuff and everything. And doing that inside D365 was the main part of the challenge, is just how do you make it do all this stuff. So we had all the design specs and everything were done because it was proven. Now it was, how do you get it in there? And that's what Anil and his team did for me.
Okay, so let me just unpack Sales Opportunity Snapshot, or SOS. You're talking about this being a proven solution, but was built in Excel, very enriched interface experience, but still Excel all the same. So tell me a bit about what is Sales Opportunity Snapshot? What is this methodology and kind of what's its history to date?
Sure. It was started around 2005, 2006, and it's a relatively simple but extremely powerful methodology that provides a sales professional with everything from qualification, competitive strategy, value proposition, action planning, and also very, very unique and powerful influence map, which is a visual picture of the stakeholders or decision makers that are involved in an opportunity. The sales professional uses it from the very beginning of really once an opportunity is identified to figure out whether to pursue the opportunity or whether to exit out of it, which is a difficult thing for salespeople. And, I'm a salesperson as well. We want to try and chase after everything, but the reality is that we shouldn't always. And this helps very early in the process to decide whether to continue. And along the way, it builds and builds. So it's a living, breathing opportunity management methodology. It's a process, it's a tool, it's a mindset, and it allows the salesperson to really have something that helps them sell, which is a little different than a typical CRM scenario, because the reality is most salespeople don't like CRM because it's just sort of an extra step and doesn't do a lot of good for them. SOS is definitely helping them to increase their win rate, increase their deal size, while at the same time now it's inside of D365. So all the data lives right inside of there.
Excellent, excellent. So, back earlier on in my career, I came across tools like Miller-Hyman sales methodology, and there were some versions of that working in Dynamics. How does it kind of compare to those other kind of formalized sales systems that are in market?
Yeah, it is another formalized sales system, and it was built by a gentleman down in Atlanta by the name of Steve Bistritz, who was, involved with many of those different systems. So TAS and so forth. And because many of the other systems have a lot of data that's expected from the salesperson, like 31 questions or different color sheets and et cetera,
Blue
et cetera.
sheets and things, yeah.
It's all though flat data, it's text data, it's stuff that's primarily for the purpose of management to have visibility. And it doesn't always help the salesperson sell. So the main focus of SOS is it's about helping the salesperson sell. In fact, when we deliver the training, we say, if this isn't helping you sell, then don't use it, because this is not for management. This is for you. And now that it's living inside D365, we have one objective source of the truth that needs to be defendable. And because it's inside D365, the data is live, it's accurate, and it's accessible, which goes back to the main reason I started this, was be able to create the data that can then be utilized by management for the funnel, et cetera. So that's always the challenge, is getting people to put this stuff in the CRM, but now they're living in the CRM using this.
Yeah, so good, so good. So why did you decide to go with or extend Dynamics 365 with SOS rather than go into Salesforce, Sugar, or any of the other apps out there?
Well, it was just by choice because of the customer, the client that I had, and this opportunity, since they were now going into D365. I also felt like some of the other environments, I could get there eventually. I wanted to prove this out and understand it with a client that I knew needed it. It was well aligned for them to start out with this, and then it allowed me to get into this world, because really my background in terms of sales transformation is mainly delivering workshops and providing tools to help salespeople sell. And this whole software world, as far as me creating software, is new. I've always been in software, sales and helping software companies do better demos, etc. But now I was all of a sudden going to be producing the software, and I didn't want to jump into something too big. This customer happened to be D365. I thought it was a great place to start, and the intent is to eventually get into the other platforms, particularly Salesforce. But for right now, it was a big missing gap. I think when Anil and I first started talking about this, the words that came up was the missing link, because D365 really didn't have some of this type of methodology inside of it.
Yeah, so true, so true. What's been your experience? You've got an app on AppSource. I'm not so much interested in the tech around that, but has that given you a higher degree of exposure? Do you have a higher level of interest by being in the App Store? Or is it not really moved the dial for you?
I would call it more of a soft launch right now. I haven't done a lot of really any outbound marketing for this, except for Anil and I did co-present at the CRM UG last year in Phoenix. But I've been so focused on just making sure that it works correctly and it does everything it needs to do here for this particular client. The other challenge, and this gets back to the question that you were talking with Anil about earlier regarding the trial versus the test drive. This app is not necessarily self-explanatory or intuitive. One of my concerns is that if somebody installs it and they try to use it, they're not going to know exactly what it does because you need some training around the methodology itself, not just the tool. I mean, it is a tool and that's what it is. But, the magic is really in the methodology and the method is in the tool. So the tool is only as good as what your training is around it. So I've been working on and thinking about how to create some learning bites that help somebody with the initial use of it so they don't get lost and that they don't get frustrated. And at the same time, it allows me to get more exposure because every time, I talk with somebody about this and every time I talk about it, it just is so exciting about what the possibilities are here. And I do see a great future for this. And so that's sort of where I'm at with it right now is it's fine for this client because they already knew it. And if anybody knows SOS already, they can immediately pick it up and start using it inside of D365.
Right. So right now, someone decides, okay, we want the app. How do they go out and get the SOS training? So the soft skill parts of it, rather than just, if you like, how to technically use the app.
Well, they can contact me, and we can do the training for them. Typically, it's done over a couple of 4-hour sessions virtually. Believe it or not. In fact, this client that I'm doing this with, that I've been working with now for 14 years, has their team is geographically dispersed. They're a very large global company, so all of the training that I do for them is virtual. Some of the training that I do for other companies is in person, so it can be either. But that's what it takes is basically 1-day training or 2 4-hour web sessions to get started and know how to use SOS to win more deals and grow your opportunities.
Excellent. So there's no real geographic restriction here. You could basically deliver this training in the Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, doesn't matter what the country it is, as long as it's got internet connection, you could actually deliver those 4-hour, 1-day type sessions to complement the product sitting in AppSource.
Exactly. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I did a session and we had people on there that spanned 15 time zones. So I had somebody from Japan and somebody on the West Coast. And that was, those are always interesting. Early morning for the West and late night for Japan.
Wow, very interesting. Very great to see your product in there. Great to see this kind of extending on the platform. That's about all I want to cover here. I just got some quick fire questions, which I will direct to you individually to get your kind of input. So, Art, first of all, from your side, what's the best purchase you've made under $100?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot, and I settled on the Blue Yeti microphone that I'm actually using for this webcast.
Yeah, I tell you, it does sound a very warm microphone, so I'm impressed with it. Anil, what would you say to that one?
About a month ago, I bought the $99 Introduction to Scrum training from Neil Benson, and that was fabulous. And
wow, look at man, Neil will be so pleased that you plugged it.
And I still got $1 to spare. So,
wow. Okay, there you go. Well, I'll make sure I put links in the show notes to both the Blue Yeti microphone and also Neil Benson's course. In fact, there might even be a discount code that I can work out with him For anybody listening, because I'm pretty sure, and once again, that'll be in the show notes, if I can wrangle them on that one. So tell me, what is the one thing you've always wanted to do and haven't done yet, Anil?
Over the last, it keeps changing, but over the last few months, I felt, I don't know how and why, I wanted to pick up golf. And I'm traveling a lot, and every city I travel to, every country, if I reach in the evening or it's the weekend, I switch to the golf channel. Starting to find it therapeutic, and I'm thinking, I think I need to pick it up.
There's only one type of golf I like, and that's Ambrose golf, which is because it's pure entertainment and
Yeah,
social,
nice.
in nature. Excellent. What's the one productivity tool that you use every day, Art?
I use OneNote. I know it sounds very basic, but I just love it because it's cross-platform. I've got all of the records and everything that I need for anybody that I'm talking with, and I just find it extremely useful.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Anil, what's the one book you recommend most to people and why?
Over the last few months, I've read and highly recommend Andy Puddicombe's The Headspace Guide to Meditation and Mindfulness. For all entrepreneurs, all people out there, creating some headspace, it's all available to you, but spending 10 minutes a day doing some meditation can be very, very helpful.
I couldn't agree with you more. I read it in January this year, and I last year I really heavily got into meditation and have now continued that this year. And what I'm finding, the more you do it, the more beneficial it becomes. Because it is like it is to a degree muscle memory to get to that point where you can intercept thoughts and go, hang on a second, that's not who I am, or that's not what's going to interrupt my day, and but it's been able to identify that. And I think, what he's done in that book has really demystified it, if you like, and made it very practical and very applicable. I mean, the Headspace app is definitely one I use every single day of the week without fail,
Wow.
so I agree with you.
as just as a note for anybody, just that what you said, intercepting that thought, as a good entrepreneur, as a good leader, you can learn a lot about yourself, and that split second of a filter can do wonders in your communication with people around you. So,
Yeah. Totally agree. Anil, who do you recommend as a guest for the podcast in future?
one of our delivery heads, Kuldeep Gupta, he's about to become an MVP, which I am supposed to keep it hush hush, but
Okay,
so
well done.
he's been fantastic. I would recommend him. And then I would recommend one of our global customers, David Wheeler. He's based out of Horsham, Pennsylvania, and they have really a true digital transformation across their office, across their manufacturing and everything from the US, UK, India, and China.
Excellent. I'll get you to kind of do some introductions to both those gentlemen. That would be great. Art, I'd like to ask you the same question. Any recommendations for guests for future podcasts?
Well, believe it or not, and we didn't compare notes on this, but I was going to recommend that you have one of Anil's developers because it would also allow you to dive deeper into the methodology piece that you were looking to explore earlier. I was hoping you were going to ask me what's the one thing that you wanted to do and have not
Oh
yet.
yeah, okay. Tell me, what is it? What is it?
Well, so besides changing my app on the AppSource from a trial to a test drive, which I'm currently working on because I really think that that's super important. But as far as just pleasure goes, explore Europe by train for several weeks. Just have always wanted to do that. And, the peace and just the tranquility and like just sort of relaxing between stops and then being able to just go explore. There's so many great sites that I've seen, but typically it's on the back end of some kind of a business trip, or some kind of dedicated tour, but a little bit slower pace and just explore by train. I think would be pretty amazing.
Mate, I couldn't agree with you more. As in, I have, for work across my career, I would be, often 2 to 3 times a week flying interstate for years of my career. And what happened is that I took 18 months with my wife to travel the world, and particularly Europe. which we just finished up in May last year. And one of the things we did was coast to coast of Russia via train. And then we basically had a rule of thumb. If there was a train as a method to get there, we weren't going to fly. So it meant right through Europe, we just took trains everywhere. I love even in the UK here now, if I go up to Scotland, I don't even consider flying. For me, it's just default. We'll take a train because I just love the relaxed nature of the countryside going past. I can still, if I've got a table there, I can work and stuff as well. And I just find it so much more pleasurable than flying.
Yep.
Highly recommend it. Anil and Art, has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Before you go, just one at a time, Anil first, then followed by Art. If people want to connect with you online, what's the best way for them to find you on social media or any other channel?
Yep, I am on LinkedIn, so it's really Anil Shah, CloudFronts, or on Twitter is @CloudFronts.
And for myself also, I'm on LinkedIn, so Art Fromm, Fromm, and then probably just drop an email, art@technicalsalesdevelopment.com, where you can check out the app on AppSource SOS for D365.
Hey, thanks again for joining us on today's Dynamics 365 show. I'm your host, Business Applications MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as NZ365 Guy. I'm here to help you, so let me know your challenges. Shout out anytime on any channel just by searching for NZ365 Guy. As I said, full show notes are available at nz365guy.com/85. Talk to you next time.